Hello folks, this is Sula speaking. You're listening to another video for Teamfight Tactics. Now you might notice the beginning of this video a little bit different from my normal videos. No loading screen here, and that is because this is video footage that was sent to me by JDP El Grillo. This is a game that he played. It's a ranked game, one of his early... I think this was just after finishing the placement matches for ranked, but this was still very, very early in the season for Season 8. And in this game, we're going to be looking at a Nasus game, specifically a game with the Nasus carry augment. So that's a bit of a giveaway as to what's about to come up. But of course, we're going to be getting that first augment in like 30 seconds or so, so it's not really that much of a giveaway. Anyway, so this is going to be a game that plays through Nasus, and then ultimately later on, it's going to play into high-end shopping. And Grillo does a fantastic job in this game of both using the Nasus carry in the early game, and then using high-end shopping later on to move into a board full of legendary units. Alright, so as I said, this is still early on here in Set 8. It was from the first week of Set 8. Grillo's just going to buy up the board there. I will mention that I looked at kind of the end game version of this. I have not watched the entire match yet, so there may be some things I don't expect as I go through this video either. But by and large, I do know where this game is going to end up. So far, Set 8's been pretty entertaining. We might get tired of it with time, but I think that the release patch has been pretty good thus far. There's been a couple things that are maybe a little bit out of whack. Zed and Zoe have been a little bit too strong. Ashe as a one-cost unit has been a little bit too strong. There is a bug involving the gadgetine items, and there's also a bit of a bug with the targeting on the hacker units. But overall, it's been a pretty good release. All right, here's the Nasus augment, stacks on stacks. Nasus gains 10 additional attack damage. He also gains 2% more attack damage each time he kills an enemy, and then that can stack infinitely. So that is your general setup there. Nasus is a unit that just will stack and stack and stack over the course of the game. And he can, well, kind of grow infinitely with this stacks on stacks ability, much like the way his Q works in standard League of Legends. I have a whole bunch of Nasus games that I played back in like 2010, 2011, 2012, running Nasus and stacking up that Q. Has almost never been in the meta for professional competitive League of Legends, but has been a fun champion to play at some points in time. So as far as what Grillo's running, he's go ahead, scouting the other boards, seeing what's happening. This is one of the biggest changes in Set 8 is, of course, we have the champion augments, the ones that specifically affect individual units. But I think they're most noticeable when you get a champion augment for the very first augment of the game. That's when it seems to have the biggest effect on playing, because there's a whole bunch of champions that really are not normal carries, but then can become a carry if you get their carry champion augment. Every champion has both a carry augment and a support augment, and this is the carry one for Nasus. Quick little... Oh, by the way, Grillo actually pointed this out to me when we were doing a double up game, which apparently he had heard on one of the streams with one of the developers. The carry versus support augment is actually color coded. I did not realize that. So when it is a carry augment for your champion, it has a purple tint, and when it is a support augment, it has a green tint. I actually did not realize that, but there is a visual indicator as far as which of the two it is. So the other trait that Grillo has put in is supers. He has the mascot trait, which is going to give health regeneration to Nasus. And then he also has the supers trait, which is the trait that you typically play for rerolling purposes. Thank you for highlighting this, Grillo. The units gain 20% additional damage, and that increases by, I think, 5% for each 3-star unit. So it's a reroll trait, but Grillo's going to be rerolling here for the Nasus. I was a little surprised actually that he leveled to level 4 instead of staying at level 3 longer so that he had the chance to maybe find more Nasuses. But it did make sense because he was able to play the 3 supers plus 2 mascot board, so that definitely made his board a lot stronger. I just thought he might stay at level 3 a little bit longer because you have better odds for the 1-cost units there at level 3. So far he's managed to find 4 Nasuses. There's always the debate, is it Nasi? Four total copies of Nasus needs 5 more, and how quickly he's able to hit this unit is probably going to determine how well this game goes. Little bit of note as far as itemizing Nasus. So Nasus is a physical damage dealer. I'll just go ahead and read his official ability description since he's one of the featured units in this video. His traits are Anima Squad and Mascot. In this game, Grillo is not going to play through the Anima Squad trait at all, which is something that you have an option to do when you're playing Nasus carry, if you get the Nasus carry augment, but he really has not been seeing the Anima Squad units in his store outside of, I think he had a random Silas. Our ability is called Bonk, with an exclamation point, costs 60 mana right now. Nasus slams his staff on his target, deals physical damage, and chills them for 3 seconds. That's an attack speed slow. So it deals bonus damage, bonus physical damage, and it slows the attack speed of the target. Alright, well, we've got a carousel here. Grillo has actually lost 2 of the first 3 rounds because he doesn't have that many Nasuses yet. And wow, the video doing some weird stuff there. Okay, now it's sorted itself out. And so, of course, he's going to have early carousel priority. He chooses to go for the belt, and that's going to be used for a Warmogs on Nasus. Now, putting a Warmogs on a mascot unit is almost never a bad idea. That's because the mascot units regenerate health based on their total max HP. It's all percentage based, so stacking additional health is always good on them. Right now, Mascots 2 is you get 1.5% healing every 2 seconds. That's doubled for Mascots as well. So Nasus is healing back 3% of his health every 2 seconds with the 2 Mascots in. So if you're healing for percentage based, putting in a Warmogs is going to increase that healing. So that's, naturally going to be good on Mascot units. Also, we see there's another Nasus in the store there. However, typically if you are going to play Nasus as your carry, you would try to itemize him a little bit differently. His best items for carry Nasus would typically be some combination of like Titan's Resolve, which is always good on melee carries, Bloodthirster, so you can take advantage of his extra health, and so that you can get a little bit of extra damage, a little bit of extra healing in there. Hand of Justice would not be bad either, but the Bloodthirster would be better. In this game, Grillo has made the Gunblade, and I don't think that was a bad decision because that was what he had in terms of items. He had a sword plus a rod, so it made sense to make use of them. Like, Bloodthirster would be better just because he has so much health on Nasus. It would give him that shield. Also, a little bit of extra physical damage. Nasus does deal physical damage, not magic damage. But, like, the Gunblade's not bad. It means that Nasus does heal off some of the damage that he deals. So, it's not terrible, but, it's certainly not, like, best in slot. So, like I said, Titan's Bloodthirster would be good. Infinity Edge, if you just want more damage overall, would also allow the ability to crit, which, of course, it can't normally do. And you also would not be bad to have, like, a Quicksilver Sash. Would be a good item to have. And another thing that's pretty nice on Nasus is a rapid fire cannon is really nice because it gives him 2 range. That means he's much less likely to get stuck on tanks. You can actually put him in the second row, and then he avoids taking early aggression. I suppose Edge of Night would not be horrible either because it's always good on melee carries. Hurricane would also mean he could potentially take the humongous amount of AD that he stacks up over the course of getting this augment. And then the bolts would deflect to hit additional targets. So different options there. I don't think this is probably like the ideal way that you would itemize Nasus, but Grillo is making use of what items he has, and I think that there's a good argument to be made that it's better just to do that, to just be like making use of the items you're actually getting, as opposed to having them sit on the bench as you try to go for like best in slot items. Anyway, so there've been a little bit of hiccups here on the video recording, but not too bad. Hopefully this has been pretty watchable. Good news is Grillo is already up to 6 Nasuses. He has not re-rolled at all yet. He's actually been leveling a bit more aggressively than I would have expected for someone who is trying to go for a 1-cost re-roll build. But he's already hit 6 Nasuses, so that's going great. Like, that's exactly what you want to see. And so hopefully he won't have to spend too much time. He probably doesn't want to go past level 5 if he wants to hit the remaining Nasuses. But if he can hit this relatively quickly, then he'll be able to look to go from there, decide on whether he wants to go and level more aggressively, or if he wants to stay here and go for say the other supers units. So like he could also try to reroll for Gangplank and Lee Sin and in particular Malphite, but there's also the option to look to push levels too. All right, so still basically the same board. We'll play both of the 2-star Nasuses. I think that's the right call. The items that have dropped have been a glove and a rod. Again, not really what you would be looking for Nasus. His ability does deal physical damage, not magic damage. This actually would be really nice itemization for a magic damage carry, like if you were going for, I don't know, like a Yasuo carry or something, or a Talon carry. This would be really nice. But Grill's going to slam that as well. He's going to slam the Jeweled Gauntlet. So very unusual itemization here. However, it does make a little bit more sense than you might think, and that's due to the item rework here in set 8. So the items were changed around a bit, and in particular, Infinity Edge and Jeweled Gauntlet were changed such that both of them are fairly similar in what they do. They both allow abilities to crit, and stacking them both up together does almost nothing. So whereas in the past you would often build both Jeweled Gauntlet and Infinity Edge on like a spellcaster if you just wanted their spells to crit and hit super hard, it doesn't really do that much here in set 8 because they just both allow abilities to crit, and then the Jeweled Gauntlet gives some ability power and the Infinity gives some attack damage. All right, we've got our second augment here, and oh, look at this, a mascot crest. That's a perfect fit. Now, Celestial Blessing also would not be terrible because it would allow Nasus' damage to heal him, but he already has the Gunblade for that, so he doesn't really need that. The Mascot Emblem, on the other hand, is really, really quite nice, though, because that's going to allow him to go easily up to 4 mascots if he wants here. He could take out the extra Nasus and then play the Yuumi, and then that gets up to 4 mascots, which it does feel like it would be worth running, so yeah. There we go. So still keeping the 3 supers in, but now 4 mascots, and actually 2 heart because he's got the Lee Sin. I actually forgot for a second that he get heart there as well. Stack up a little additional ability power per spellcast. So this basically doubles the benefit from mascot. Actually, it slightly more than doubles the benefit. At least in this patch, mascot 2 is 1.5% healing, but mascot 4 is 3.25% healing. Kind of an odd number that the developers came up with, but 3.25% healing. That is, of course, doubled for mascot units, so Nasus is getting 6.5% of his health healed every 2 seconds. And as the mascot units die, they go over to the bench and increase the benefit. So, like right now, Malphite's gone over to the bench, and now Yuumi's gone over to the bench. So now it has gone up from 3.25 to 5.25. So now Nasus is healing for almost 11% of his health per second. You get the idea. As the mascot units die, and they go over to cheer from the sideline, it gets harder and harder to kill the remaining mascot. So yeah, Nasus does not really take a lot of damage in that fight, and he probably gets like another 3 or 4 stacks. Since this is, oh wow, and okay, well, that was easy, okay. that was pretty good. So Grillo's able to go ahead and just hit the, just hits the Nasus like without even rolling once. He didn't even have to reroll one time. So yeah, okay, this is a bit of a high roll game, and now he also has found an Alistar and a Galio in the store, so that actually opens up the possibility of playing 6 mascots, which is not something you would typically play. The problem with 6 mascots, there are only 6 mascot units total, by the way, so normally you would have to find a Nunu to play 6 mascots. You also typically wouldn't play it because 2 of the mascots are 1-cost units, Nasus and Galio. So like by the time that you find Nunu, you don't really want to play Galio or Nasus normally, but this may be a bit of an exception here because he has the +1 mascot from his augment, and then Grillo also has the 3-star Nasus that's going to be much stronger than usual. Jesus, Nasus is just farming the entire enemy team. Does he get stacks when he kills the targeting dummy that the prankster lives behind? I have no idea. Oh my god, he's already at 263 attack damage. Oh boy. Well, and remember, the nice thing about having the Jeweled Gauntlet, even though it's not quite as good as an Infinity Edge, it does mean that that Siphoning Strike can critically strike. So I think he has, like, I don't know, like 30, 35% odds to critically strike, something like that. And when that ability crits, it's going to hit pretty hard, and it's just going to get stronger as the game goes on. Anyway, Grillo has no other items on his bench, so it's just kind of whatever he wants here. And I don't think Grillo was quite aware of what he was going to do with this sword, but he didn't have too many options because he has been win streaking here. All right, well, again, just kind of continuing to get everything that he would want here. So he can level and play, I guess another mascot would probably make the most sense here. Let's see what he does. There's no reason to be at 70 gold. I guess he could stay at 70 gold if he wants to reroll for the supers units, but Grillo, I think, is just going to go ahead and level And he's going to drop the super so that he can go up to 6 mascots. So, okay, 6 mascots. That's a lot of healing. So if you're unfamiliar with this, the 6 mascots is 6.5% healing each second. That's doubled for mascot units. So Nasus is healing for 13% of his max HP every second. And he has an awful lot of health because he's a 3-star unit with the Warmogs. So unless you have a heal cut, which by the way this team does have, they have the Sunfire Cape, but if you don't have some kind of heal cut, this Nasus is just not going to die in these fights. And he's going to just continue stacking up his ability over and over and over again as he continues to get off more of his ability cast. So is he going to fit? Yeah, that just did 800 damage. Okay, so this is a game. This is a pretty entertaining match here, to say the least. So, yeah. And at this point, it's just what direction does Grillo want to take the game in from here? It looks like he's opting to push levels rather than staying at like level 6 and trying to re-roll for more of these units. And now he's going to level to 7 to put supers back in. That makes total sense because he's on a big win streak, 6-match winning streak here. And so it looks like he's just going to try to push to level 8 and potentially level 9 as quickly as possible, and then fill out the rest of his board with expensive 4 and 5 cost units. I do think that that's probably the most consistent way to play this game. The 5 cost units are very, very strong here in set 8. And if you have the chance to just push levels and get them in as soon as possible, then it's usually a good idea to do that. If you can do that, of course, without losing too much health along the way. So basically what Grillo's doing is he's using the Nasus not to like sit at low levels and just reroll endlessly to try to hit a bunch of 3-stars. He's using the Nasus as his carry, as like a bridge to hitting the late game units. By the way, that's an important round. I think that was the first time that person lost. Yeah, that was the first time that person had lost. So he not only manages to keep his win streak going, he also ends the win streak of another player who was on 100 HP. So that's a big deal. I mean, that cost that other person an awful lot of econ. And meanwhile, Grillo is still at 50 gold in the bank on a 7-match win streak. The fact that he didn't have to reroll at all for the 3-star Nasus is just incredible. And I mean, he has almost all 1-stars aside from Nasus, but Nasus is just so strong here in the early game. Nasus will fall off a bit because his damage is all single target. I mean, again, he's going to continue stacking as the game goes on. But as a single target champ, his damage will fall off a bit. These are pretty good AD items, so in theory, you should play it into some kind of AD comp from here. With the sword, bow, glove, all that stuff's pretty good. I mean, I guess you could use this for like Spear of Shojin as well, but then you've got a Last Whisper left over. Does feel like it's probably better as like Infinity Edge plus a bow or something like that. So we'll see where Grillo's going to go from here. Also does have a lot of options. Could also make Hand of Justice, would not be bad. I think Grillo is waiting to see where he's going to go with his comp before he commits some of these items. And there's an Aurelian Soul in the store. One other thing I'll try to emphasize here is I do think this game's another good example. I mean, yes, this is kind of a high roll game, no question about it. But I think this is a good example of a game of making use of what items you do have as opposed to like greeding to try to get best in slot items. Obviously, these are not Nasus's best in slot items, but like look at how well this game is going. Okay, as I say that Nasus finally gets sniped for the first time, I believe that's the first time Nasus has died since he was became a 3-star unit. But like clearly just using the items that Grillo's been getting has been working out really well here in the game, as opposed to like leaving 4 items on the bench and then trying to greed for best in slot items. In fact, this round is one where there's 4 items on the bench. Maybe Grillo would have won that if he had in fact slammed something. But look at this high-end shopping. Champions appear in your shop as if you were 1 level higher, gain 10 gold. So this is perfect if you're doing, this is just an awesome augment. If you want to run what Grillo's doing here, which has been pushing levels, now he can go to level 8 and he'll get level 9 shops on level 8. So he can just go to level 8 and play boards full of legendary units. He even gets 10 gold here. I don't know. Feels like this is a little bit overpowered, but I did check the data before recording this. High-end shopping is not actually performing that amazingly in the data. So I'm going to toss in the Aurelian Soul just for the moment, and then we'll see what else he can hit here. But he's already got the level 9 shops, and well, like, there's Janna. Okay, that feels like a decent unit to put in. What is the forecast for Janna in this game? So, yeah, just going to have everybody clump up. It is windy weather. Generally perceived as being the best of Janna's particular options. This one is the one where it's the stacking one. The champions who stand near here gain ability power and attack damage every 5 seconds. So this is another one that scales up over the course of the fights. And obviously just having Janna in this early is very nice. There is always a bit of a trade-off with Janna because you do have to cluster up together, and that can be an issue By the way, Nasus gets low, but then gets off another Siphoning Strike, healing off the Gunblade, healing off the fact that there are 6 mascots in. Yep. And so he does 9,000 damage. And yeah, he has plus 266 damage already. Oh my god. He's over 400 attack damage already. That is pretty insane. But like, look at these stores that the high-end shopping is delivered. 16% odds to get legendary units. Already has a Leona and already has a Syndra in there. Also has a Shojin, which is a really good item to play for on Syndra, because that means she'll be able to grab units and toss them in. So Grillo is already starting to move into this. He's dropped the supers, which makes sense because he really did not find much of anything in terms of the supers. He had like a 1-star Lee Sin, and he had a, I don't know, I think he had a 2-star Malphite and a 2-star GP, but only 1-star Lee Sin, so not exactly a whole lot there. Also, look, this person's re-rolling for supers, so he would have been contested if he'd gone for supers anyway. Like, this person is running, I think they have 8 Gangplanks, and it looks like they already have a 3-star Renekton. And besides, his board of heading into legendary units looks like it's much stronger anyway. The Leona is really nice to find this early as well. Picks up the Aegis trait together with... Who else does he have on his board that has that? I can't see who else he has that has that, but picks up the Aegis trait and turned Leona into a mascot, so now she's going to get all the health regen as well. That's pretty ridiculous. And has Syndra throwing in units from the bench already. But like, this is, you're not really supposed to have access to these units this quickly in the game. Other players are like just barely hitting level 8, and like he's already moving into this legendary board. It's a little bit nutty right there. Oh, Alistar has the Aegis trait over there. All right, so what does Grillo want? He can kind of get whatever he's looking for. He's going to go ahead and take the tier. So I'm assuming this is for a Hand of Justice, but I guess we'll have to see. Could just hold it on the bench for the time being too, but potentially a Hand of Justice, depending on what units we see. There's 2-star Zed. I mean, that probably should be something worth playing. Also an Echo on this board too. So yeah, it's really just upgrading to better units here. Let's see, what can you do? You could drop down from 6 mascots to 4 and just play better units. Could put in Echo plus Zed. That definitely feels better than running Galio and, I don't know, maybe the Malphite? Although the Galio was giving, or the the Alistar was giving Aegis trait. But yeah, okay, so just going to drop down to 4 mascots. So does cut some of the health regen, but gets much, much better units on the board. Picks up an Echo, who's going to give... Actually, the Star Guardian trait. I forgot he has Star Guardian because he has Yuumi and the Syndra in. It's not often that Syndra is one of the first Star Guardians that you hit. But actually does pick up Star Guardian trait, also picks up Aegis, and also just gets a 2-star Zed onto the board, which is going to be handy for dealing additional damage. Anyway, this person is a 3-star Draven and a 2-star Jax mech, so, oh, looks like he's finally going to lose this round. Syndra did not have enough units to toss. She was actually going to throw in more units, but there were no additional units on the bench to toss in. So it looks like that is finally going to end this win streak. That said, the other player has 0 gold in the bank, so they're effectively drawing dead in the water. All right, more good units. There's a Mordekaiser. How does Mordekaiser get in? You could play him over Zed. There's another Mordekaiser. Okay. And then, okay, 2-star Mordekaiser. Well, you got to play that unit, right? Got to be better than something on the board right now. What comes out here? Yeah, I guess it's the Zed that comes out. But you have to play that Mordekaiser. And I would also seriously consider making, like, Hand of Justice. But I guess with only one more round. Oh, and now you can take out the Malphite and play Nunu and still retain 4 mascots. So this is the legendary soup, or like the Bill Gates comp that people have referred to it. It just, in the late game, just start playing more legendary units. The 5-quest units are very strong in this set. Just play lots and lots of legendary units. Also, now he actually has some very strong units on the bench for Syndra to throw in too. Syndra just threw in another Syndra, and then now just threw in a 2-star Zed. So yeah, Syndra is frequently seen as being like the weakest of the legendary units. But give her a Shojin and give her some strong units on the bench to throw in. And yeah, she can be pretty strong. I mean, threw in another Syndra. Oh, and now it's 2-star Syndra as well. Okay, 2-star Syndra this early with Star Guardian and a Shojin is actually not a weak unit at all. It's actually a very, very strong unit. Let me just read her official ability description, because I don't think I've featured her in any of the videos I've done that far. So her abilities are Heart and Star Guardian. Ability Force of Will costs 160 mana, expensive mana, although she does start with 90. Syndra enshrouds a random unit on your bench in an orb, grants them a health shield, flings them onto the board towards the closest enemy, knocks up and deals magic damage to any enemy's hit. Traits are unaffected, so you don't get the benefit of the traits for the units thrown in. As a 2-star unit, so when she goes from 1-star to 2-star, it increases the shield on the unit that gets thrown in and increases the damage dealt. Otherwise does not change the ability. So still, you get the point. Shojin is probably her best item just so she can throw things in faster. The Anvil is going to yield another Thief's Glove, so looks like we're going to make Mordekaiser with a Thief's Glove. That makes total sense why you'd want to do that. And then there's like a leftover Static Shiv. Might as well put that on the whatchamacallit, the Syndra. And so now going to group up in the corner, and I would assume look to go to level 9 from here. There's an Aphelios in the store, probably worth picking that up. We'll see if that's the decision or not. But yeah, Syndra's going to be tossing these units in, just tosses in another Mordekaiser. The Mord 2-star is going to do an awful lot of damage, and of course also shred the magic resistance of the enemy team. Plus, we still, by the way, we still have Nasus running around too. It's like easy to forget that Nasus is still on this board with the carry augment, but he still did the most damage in this fight. So this is a team that's just gotten completely out of control. Having the early Nasus with the with the carry augment without having to need to roll at all is just like insanely good. And then also getting the mascot emblem, so it was easy to play. First 6 mascot, now 4 mascot. And then in the high-end shopping to just be able to grab legendary units left and right. So 2-star Syndra, 2-star Mordekaiser already. There's 2 out of 3 Leonas on the bench, and there's also a 2-star Zed just randomly on the bench that can be thrown in to deal more damage. Looks like Grillo's gonna... Oh, wow, he rolls again, and okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess why go to level 9, right? You just hit 2-star Leona, 2 out of 3 Nunus, 2 out of 3 Jannas, just continuing to hit all these units before they get taken out of the pool by anyone else, because the other players are still only, like, just barely... Like, I don't think anyone else is level 9 yet, so they don't really have access to these units. It's kind of like free run on all of these. Also, by the way, look at the... Oh my god, look at the damage dealt by that Mordekaiser ult. So Grillo actually mentioned this in the notes he sent along with this game to me. When someone gets a... a Thief's Glove, they, of course, roll 2 items that go along with the Thief's Glove. But because Dodge Chance was removed from the Thief's Glove here in set 8, in the previous sets, the Thief's Glove provided, and the Brawler's Glove provided both crit chance and dodge chance as well. Because they removed the dodge chance, they actually increased the crit chance on the Brawler's Glove and the Thief's Glove slightly. But what that means is if someone who has a Thief's Glove rolls a item that is crit-based, then that will cause the ability to just hit unbelievably hard, because you actually get 40% crit chance from the Thief's Glove itself. So, like, watch Mordekaiser again this round. He had a Jeweled Gauntlet in the last round. This round he has an Infinity Edge, so his ability can crit again. So he has just, like, an absurd amount of crit chance with the Infinity Edge plus the Thief's Glove. And any amount of crit chance over 100% gets converted into additional damage. So his ability should hit unbelievably hard again in this fight. Let's watch it. It's about to go off. And yeah, it just did like 1,000 damage to the Draven in the back row. So basically, if a unit has a Thief's Glove and they roll Infinity Edge or Jeweled Gauntlet, then their ability just does absolutely bonkers damage due to the way that this item has been reworked. So yeah, Grillo is still level 8, and like he's just still grabbing these units. There's a Nunu on Carousel, by the way. That would make Nunu 2-star with an Ionic Spark, which is already a good item on Nunu. Oh, I thought that person might take it, but no, they went for the Galio instead. Okay. Well, I think Grillo will be happy to take that. Other good options there, like Zephyr would not be bad, Chalice would not be bad. But, I mean, 2-star Nunu with an Ionic Spark, which is already a good item on him, that feels like it's even better. So this board is definitely getting a little bit crazy. He can also go to level 9 if he wants. He does have, oh no, he has high-end shopping. I thought for a second he had level up. Probably a little too expensive to try to go to level 9, but we'll see. Grillo has been win streaking pretty hard here, and his board just continues to scale. So now he's got 2-star Nunu to go along with 2-star Leona and 2-star Mordekaiser and 2-star Syndra. He also has 2 out of 3 Echoes and 2 out of 3 Jannas. And then he has like this Yuumi that's just tagging along for Star Guardian and Heart traits and Mascot trait. Actually, no, Yumi's hitting all 3 of her traits. Jeez. Mascot, Star Guardian, and Heart. What a game for Yuumi here. All right, so like that Mordekaiser ult is less impressive because he doesn't have a Jeweled Gauntlet or an Infinity Edge, but still hits basically the entire board and still deals extra damage. Still gets the magic resistant shred. So yeah, Nasus still stacking. Hopefully Grillo will show us the attack damage on this Nasus. Nasus has been less impressive here at the end of the game just because enemy boards are kind of dying before he can stack up his ability. But it does seem like we're getting closer to the end of the game here. Oh, by the way, there's a Fiddlesticks. I don't know how he would ever get Fiddlesticks on this board. I think he'd have to be level 9 to get Fiddlesticks on this board, but we'll see what happens. Doesn't hurt to hold this unit. Fiddles is actually one of the better units that Syndra can throw onto the board, just because he'll get the shield, and then he'll take damage, and then his Crowstorm will go off at ideally some kind of opportune moment. Oh, by the way, there's an Infinity Edge on the Mordekaiser again, so crit damage ahoy. Anyway, though, this has been a really entertaining game to watch. It feels almost like it was two different games. It was like the early game was trying to find the 3-star Nasus and then playing heavily through the Nasus. But then, like, here in the late game, Nasus has almost not really been a focus at all. It's been just almost entirely just the legendary soup playing nothing but legendary units. And just like when you have this many legendary units on a team, it's almost like it doesn't really matter, because they're just all so strong that, there's just not much the other teams can do when you have this many units that are all 5 costs, and most of them are 2-starred. It's kind of like the dragon units from the previous set. If the legendary units are 1-starred, like, they're kind of beatable, but like once they're all 2-starred, like, good luck when you have... How many 5-cost units is he playing? Mordekaiser 1, Leona 2... I have to wait and go back to the board here. I'm not even really paying attention to what the other teams are running, because they don't really seem to have much of a chance. Mordekaiser 1, Leona 2, Nunu 3, Janna 4, Syndra 5. So that's 5 different legendary units on the board. Jeez. That's a lot of legendary units, and most of them are 2-starred as well. Plus Syndra just keeps throwing in more units. Like, there's still a 2-star Zed on the bench that can get thrown into these fights. Feels like that's pretty good. Alright, what's going to come out of the... Oh, and, well, there's a 2-star Fiddles. Okay. What else do you want? I would probably take the Warmogs for Leona here. Let's see what Grillo chooses to go for. Quicksilver. Okay. I'm a little surprised that he went for the Quicksilver here. We'll see who he ends up putting that on. So it's 52 to level. He obviously wants to play the Fiddlesticks. So yeah, there we go. Just going to play the Fiddles. And who is this Quicksilver Sash going to go on? Syndra? Okay. Yeah, I think that's not what I would have chosen, but this game is certainly going really, really well. I guess I'm just not quite sure. I mean, I guess there is some synergy here, because Quicksilver does give attack speed, so it does synergize with the Shojin and the Static Shiv. But, I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter what he picks. I probably would have gone for the Warmogs on Leona. Still, these fights are not close. Fiddlesticks is not even going off in this fight, because Fiddlesticks only goes off when your team takes damage. And, yeah, so that's going to be a pretty easy victory, and now I'm assuming he probably just needs 2 rounds to finish off this other player. I don't really see what this other player could do. Yeah, there's Janna 2-star. Okay, so that's a thing that happened. How many legendary 2-stars is that now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 different legendary units that are all 2-starred. Okay, that's a good board. And then it's still the Nasus from the early game is around, so that unit's still a thing too. Plus so Nasus. And then the Echo, because Echo gives a ton of traits. Echo is giving Star Guardian and Aegis traits. Does not have his Prankster trait in. And then Yuumi is providing all 3 of her traits as a trait bot in the back corner. Just a really, really nasty board here. Nasus, by the way, is still stacking up his ability. We're not really seeing it because, like, Mordekaiser's ult hits the entire board. Fiddlesticks can fear most of the board, blah, blah, blah. Like, these teams are basically dying before Nasus gets to do very much. But he is still stacking up his ability. And this fight was actually kind of close, but... does end up being a victory. Yeah, that one was somewhat close. Syndra, the only unit left alive at the end of that one. Not quite sure what happened there. Alright, so now rolling for Urgot. There's also an Aurelion Soul here on the bench. Looks like this is maybe the last round of the game. This person, Chicken Bot, did have an awful lot of health to chew through. They are running, it looks like a Sure Shot team composition, from what I can see. Does not have a weak board at all, but... just very difficult to overcome this board. I haven't even mentioned that Janna is continuing to give the additional stats like every 5 seconds that this person's getting. So, and yeah, we'll just wait and see what happens here the last couple rounds. They're actually using the, giving the hacker benefit to Aphelios, which is really interesting. It puts Aphelios in the back line and gives him that additional Omni Vamp. So that's, yeah, that's kind of unusual. Wouldn't have expected that. Last fight was going a little bit better than this one for the other player. And then it's just the Samira left, and yeah. That time Mordekaiser's been leading the damage charts in most of these fights, interestingly enough. Alright, well, one more round here. Looks like we probably have one last round to go. Anything that you want here? Let's see. Out of these particular options, going to take the Protector's Vow, and I assume that will just go on a frontline unit. Let's see if there's anything else that can be hit. Leona on the bench to throw in would not be terrible either, as far as what's here. So this other player finally made it to level 9, but Grillo's had level 9 shops for like literally the entire game. So yeah, and he's actually going to sell the Zed and continuing to roll here. And oh, okay. Well, there's another. He can just put 2-star. Apparently, he can just put a 2-star Urgot on the bench, and then he's going to sell the Echo and just play 2-star Urgot, and then have a 2-star Mordekaiser on the bench. Okay, so now he has 7 2-star legendary units. He had, because he added the Urgot and dropped the Echo. So he does lose a few traits for that, but he also picked up a 2-star Urgot. And now he had a 2-star Mordekaiser on the bench to be thrown in. Actually, Syndra has once again run out of units to throw in off the bench. But, like, this game is not close. This was just an absolute steamroller from start to finish in this game. One of the reasons why I asked Grillo to go ahead and send it to me. Just what a wild game. The recording cuts out here, but I'll put a static image from Lalchess up here so you can see. Like I said, what a wild game. It started with the Nasus 3-star, hitting it without re-rolling even one time. And then into the 6 mascots for like some giggles in the mid-game. And then high-end shopping, just absolutely abusing the power of high-end shopping to just stack the team with 7 different legendary 2-stars. Unbelievable. You just don't beat that board unless you're running something equally similar, or you have like a 3-star 4-cost or something. So wow, well done and a well-earned victory. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'm glad that Grillo was able to share this video with me. Until next time, hope you guys are having a great week. Take care, folks.